when I'll pull your question from the smart sheet or from the form where you posted your question. I've analyzed every question that was posted for this session. So cool, Sandeep. Even if your familiarity with arithmetic and algebra, the PACE architecture will ensure that you only learn what you need to learn. Let me share a video so that you understand. How many of you understand how PACE works? So watch the video on this and you'd really see that. So go through the sequence. See, the thing with Sandeep, the thing with being familiar with something is that if you're familiar with something, then great, you must be aiming for an 88, 89, which means we cannot leave any gap. And by following through the PACE architecture, you ensure that. And honestly, if you know something, you won't re-study it anyway. Chetsi, so in RC, so Chetsi's question is here. It says, I struggle in a science passage because of lack of interest in science. And I've seen people with lack of interest in humanities. I've seen people with lack of interest in science. Honestly, the best way to look at this is not to consider a passage belonging to a certain background as a passage belonging to a certain background, because when we do that, our dislike for that, I didn't want to use the word hatred, but our dislike for that background actually overpowers our desire to master that passage. Every GMAT RC passage is not about teaching you a certain topic, but it's about empowering you to make decisions in a certain context. And if you understand that aspect of the GMAT passage, I think your hatred will, or your dislike for a certain type, or whether it's sciences, economics, biology, humanities, or geo stuff would go away. And because honestly, that's what each RC passage is. It gives you some data points. You're not required to understand the subject matter. And based on those data points, you have to draw inferences and be in a power to make decisions. And that's what it is. And whether it's a sciences or an economics, a business passage or a humanities, that's what you need to do, or a law. So that's what you need to really take this into account. And when you do that, your bias or against a particular area will automatically go away. Because honestly, when we create passages, we take an official passage, we understand what this passage is testing. It's a humanities passage, we convert just that same passage architecture into a sciences passage, because for us, that's what's critical. For us, it's the nuances of language that's critical, not the subject matter that's put in those places, because that's exactly what the test is evaluating. Think about it. GMAT doesn't know, are you going to work for a consumer products company? Are you going to work for a product company such as Google? Are you going to work for a consulting firm? What they really teach you is how do you extract information from a piece of text, and those are the skills that are tested everywhere. So okay, so I'm going to take Tyra's question first, and Nupur, and then Yash's question after that. Okay, but Chetsi, hopefully that helps. So Tyra's question says, I'm not sure why in certain days I rarely excel in CR and the other days I struggle through even the basic questions. Does it happen to others? It definitely does happen to others. It does happen to me as well. And I think, first of all, congratulations to you to have brought that aspect out. Many people don't even, they realize it, but they don't really explicitly express it that way. And that explicit expression is absolutely critical, because once you explicitly express it, you can do something about it. So this happens with everyone, and critical reasoning is one area where this happens. Hard MSR is another area where that would happen. And in general, when you reach the pinnacle of difficulty level, so hard quant is also another area where, especially when you have to consider all cases, this happens as well. And more often than not, this happens because we are not completely mentally agile. Now, CR is one such beast where which will catch you if you are mentally not there at upwards of your 95%. And this is something which is absolutely critical to understand. RC, you'd still perform at 80% if you're at your 85% mental agility. CR, if you're below 95%, you're going to perform at your 60%. And that non-linearity exists in CR. So the first thing which is there is to recognize this aspect in critical reasoning. You absolutely have to be at your sharpest in critical reasoning. So when you're before you start studying, if you're not your sharpest, do take a routine that puts you in your sharpest. And being in your sharpest means being completely focused, not being worried by things. And for different individuals, that may mean different things. For me, it means one of two things. One is either I work out in some ways, and for me, workout is very simple, as simple as just taking a pair of dumbbells and doing 2 to 3 sets, or doing a couple of set of push-ups. That's one thing that I do. The other thing is to read a couple of my favorite. I have these list of favorite books, both fiction and business. I read them for about 10 minutes or so, and that kind of puts my mind in a zone where I become completely focused. So recognizing that you're not fully focused right up front, and then making sure you do certain set of activities that make you completely focused is absolutely critical there. Once you do that, you're going to find that your hit rate, your precision in CR will improve at a much faster rate. Okay, but yes, it's absolutely critical that you do this. Let's look at Yash's question. Starting out with my prep, I want to know, apart from the course itself, what other activities should I involve in order to enhance my understanding of complex sentences paragraph? That's again is an excellent question, very very similar to what Tyra said. You've asked the right question at this point. So one thing that I always tell people is, studying for the GMAT, and this is, I used to say this about verbal. Now I can say the same thing about verbal and data insights both, because they're both part of your life. Is honestly building life skills. These are skills that are going to be critical for you, uh, not just to ace the exam, but also really to ace your professional life as well as your personal life. And so in your professional life, you specifically asked about sentences. So when you're reading even your reports, understand how sentence structures are built in. If a report's written by someone that is who's actually known to write good stuff. So if you're, for example, reading an analyst report, Gartner's reports, um, uh, reports by Gartner, then I would, so someone who you would consider as an authority, then I'd recommend that you read it with an appreciation of how they build upon an argument, how they show the facts, and building upon those facts, how they draw conclusions. And while they're doing that, look at how could those conclusions be weakened or broken. Honestly, challenging champions is one of the best ways you could build your subject matter prowess. And then honestly, every conclusion can be weakened, even the best conclusions. And that's kind of what the nature of an argument is. If you're reading an article, again, by a source that is considered to be an authority. So when I say authority, The Economist is an authority. For example, New York Times uh, uh, opinion column, that's usually most of those columns are very very well written. Then look at how, again, the author, what does the author say in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. So summarize those, build those summaries, and really say how, just across 3 paragraphs, what could be the main point of a passage that comprises of these 3 paragraphs here. So that's how you could do. That's one strategy that you could really do, where you have people who do a phenomenal job, and you are evaluating their job and really just appreciating and learning how they have expressed themselves so coherently. The second is to do the opposite, where if you're reading stuff from your peers who like you, may not be the best or the most formal at or the most logical at expressing themselves. So there, if you're reading a report, try and reorganize it. You may reorganize it just for yourself because they might feel bad, but try and reorganize it and really say, okay, this structure to express the same main idea is probably better suited versus a structure that is proposed. In either way, you will enhance your understanding. Another way, when you look at and this is something that could happen with an ex some with a, for content written by an expert as well, but that's going to be less frequent. But it would more often happen now with someone who's not an expert in their field. If you see a piece of content that written by them, you may really ask yourself, how could this be misinterpreted, and then again, how could this be rewritten for clarity here? So that's something that you should do, and as you do that, you're going to find that your reinforcement becomes that your learning becomes a lot faster. You reinforce what you've learned, and so especially focus on aspects such as some, most, many. How are they used precisely in the quantitative sense? When you think about people talking about segments, are they precise over there in those sense? And are when people are comparing entities, visualize those comparisons. Again, very similar to what we say, in these things that we talk about in the context of GMAT verbal or in DI, even or in set theory in quant, they're not limited to those things. They're actually very applicable in life. Kuldeep, hopefully, or Yash, hopefully that helps. Okay, we've taken Kuldeep's case, we've taken Chetna's case, we've taken um, Amitav. Can you focus on okay, no, Kuldeep's case we have not taken, yes. Kuldeep saying, I'm working on the CR section, it's taking a lot longer than the expected time listed on the website. Kuldeep, did you post your query? Because I'd have to really look at your study plan and to really validate that first. Otherwise, you have to give me your email address, and then I somehow feel I've seen your Kuldeep Chand, you've logged into your account. You posted your query, right, Kuldeep? That email address seems familiar to me. Let me just filter. Oh, no, because you were one of the first ones who joined. You did not post your query, so you have to put in your email address. Amit, I'm going to take Amitav's question. Can you focus on two different sections like verbal and quant at the same time? Not when you're doing stage one. Absolutely not. And not if you are studying just 2 hours a day. When you're studying 4 hours a day, maybe yes, but not when you're studying 2 hours a day. Again, so when you are doing stage one, you're building those neural connections, and you need continuity. When you do stage one in two sections and you're building two different kind of neural connections, they mess against each other. We don't want that. Okay, so Amitabh, I know it's hard. Let me just say that I also understand that this is hard, but it's absolutely critical. um, Working on two different sections is early on in your bodybuilding workout. You're working on two different body parts, and yes, it may seem easier, but it doesn't pump your muscle to the degree that you want it pumped. Chetsi saying my PSP shows only to do only algebra, cementing, and quant. Should I follow that or ask my mentor to suggest the same? So Chetsi, most likely you're starting at that. Your PSP shows this because your starting ability is higher than 60 percentile in algebra. Is that a fair statement? If that is the case, then you could actually follow one of two approaches because of pace and quant. You could go through the entire algebra course, and because you already know stuff, that your course will automatically shrink down, and that's not a bad approach at all. You're not going to waste a ton of time. Or you could do cementing, look at Scholaranium, identify your weakness, and just go do those modules. So one or the other, either way, you land at the same time, at the same place. One way or the other. So if you feel you want to start with the course, absolutely do that. The pace nature of quant will ensure that you only focus on what you need to do. Okay. All right, Kuldeep, I still need your email address so that I can address your question. All right, let me log into your account and then answer that question here. Once I'm going to actually share my screen. Let's go over here and I'm going to go into Kuldeep's account. Let's make sure we are sharing the right screen here. Oh, what did I do? Why did I stop sharing? Just hold on, give me 1 second. I'll remove the host and presenter area, share screen. I'll go into Kuldeep's account. Yep, we're sharing Kuldeep's screen here. So the first thing I always do is look at someone's plan and really say, what does this say? So your CR is about 4 weeks. It's you're supposed to spend, what are you spending on a per week basis? But 18 hours a week. So your CR, so it's about 4 weeks or so. So this means about 60 hours is what your CR is supposed to be. And in terms of your execution here, let's make sure update pending tasks. So always click on update pending tasks over here. So that's 23rd May is what you should have done. You should have been done with CR in this case. You bunch of no study days here, and then we are in April. So let's go May in this case. So your CR course, and now let's just go into the CR course here, is you've honestly done just this much here. And let's just go through your journey. Uh, yeah, I don't like those journey grades a whole lot here. So I want to make sure you revise these files. I like the practice quiz A grades, by the way, but I want to make sure that you revise these. These C grades are something which are not very helpful in this case. So honestly, you're not taking longer. When I look at this, you're taking the time that you're supposed to take in these files. Some of these files you're taking a lot longer, and most likely the reason you're taking that longer is because you're not doing them in a single sitting, because these files are supposed to be, so 75% of the people who do these files take 20 minutes or less on these files. So the fact that you're taking 82 minutes or 40 minutes over here, Kuldeep, is or even this much amount of time um, is because this is not being done in a single setting here. And let me just show this to you. I still know how to do this. Let's just do completed activity with score. Let's just filter here and see a time in minutes. I'm just going to make this as number, not unique. Aggregate property, median, see a time in minutes. And then I'm just going to put let it search over here. If I do a bar, it's about 33 minutes in this case. Okay, so for you, impact of only and all is 155 minutes, and you can really see the recommended time is about 35 minutes over here. So the only reason why you're taking this long in in this case is, hold on, where did I go over here? This is where we need to be. The only reason you're taking this long, Kuldeep, is because you're breaking up your study sessions. Am I correct? Because honestly, people don't take that long, or you're writing everything down. Mansi, while Kuldeep types his response, you can definitely write to the team. Have you written to the team over here with this piece? Um, and so just be very, very specific as to what help you need. And they might record a video saying how we do this. This is something that's definitely a case that we have tackled in the past. Okay. And honestly, even when you are in India, I understand we travel, we meet people, but we can take time out, we can take pockets out, and it's really important to make sure that you prioritize. Chetsi says, I've completed most of the questions in Schol, so can I focus on LSAT questions? You could, Chetsi, or you could focus on official questions, um, which are there. There are a ton of official questions that are there on GMAT Club. But yes, you could also focus on LSAT questions. But the key thing over there is that, what do you need them for? What areas of improvement are you looking at? And and to what extent, make sure you understand those metrics really, really closely. All right, I think we've addressed every question in there. Are there other questions that I haven't addressed? And Kuldeep, still like to get an acknowledgement from you, please. Yeah, if you're doing that, then honestly, if you're creating digital notes while doing this, and you're creating notes for everything, not for value add stuff, and so then those notes are not going to be super useful. Usually the way you do that is you write down a few things here and there, and then you post the post assessment quiz, which actually tells you where you haven't done well. That's when you take notes to really say, these are the areas where I faltered. Why did I falter? Let's take it down. Let's keep that in, because otherwise, yeah. Let's look at Khushi's case. Khushi, I'd be happy to analyze your account. If you give me your email address, that'd be great. You can ask a question. Absolutely, Gaurav. Let me actually move to the bigger monitor here. So, Rohit, your question is better answered by one of your mentors. I know you have a question about test readiness. How do you plan that? That's more by a mentor. Um, let's look at Khushi's account here. Mhm. Okay. Oh, that's a really good account. Let's look at this here. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to focus just on critical reasoning. Let's make sure we're sharing the right account. Yes, we're sharing the right account. You can really see this is Khushi's account. Here, really good scores, all A grades. Now let's go look at Schol for her. Okay. Okay, really good accuracies and this is 90 plus percentile score in CR and 65% in RC. So let's go in here. You can see good cementing quizzes. I'm not going to go into the attempt journey here in this case, and you're doing test readiness. That is good. I want to see one of those cementing quizzes. I know this is an older quiz. I just want to go into the results screen and see in the raw data side of things. So the way I would honestly look at this here is I would look at the solution view, and I would look at the median at okay, this is clearly a question that stumped you. You can see you took close to 4 minutes. You were close to this point over here. This curve is really important, whereas the median time is somewhere over here for people who've answered this question correctly. So that's something that you have to look at. So you don't have the point which I want to really make is most people who reach your ability do not have uh, uh, a timing problem which is all across. So a lot of people think, hey, I am slow at answering questions. I have a problem. In general, I'm slower than others. It's a handicap. And with that handicap, honestly, you can't. I mean, you're at 95th, 97th percentile ability in CR. You with that handicap, you can't even reach 70th percentile. Let me be very clear. So if you're already above that 70th percentile, the problem that you're facing is a very, very specific skill issue. You're not facing a generic skill issue in this case. So very specific skill in the sense that on that particular question, you did not understand a certain construct. So focus on learning those constructs through the solution. Every time you see a certain construct, try and create multiple versions of that same construct using ChatGPT, and that would be your way to reduce time. I want to just look at your mock attempts as well. I don't know if you've actually taken any mock. Oh, so why are those mock scores so low? I wonder. You should be scoring a lot higher. Yeah. Oh, so it's DI and quant, but even your verbal score needs to be higher. So let's kind of go back. So I'm gonna go back to this, go back to my original view. So Khushi, my question, have you done test readiness before mocks? And have you gone through our means of test readiness? So, or in other words, are you part of an LM program? Because your metrics are, I mean, I saw even your hard accuracy in RC is great. So that incremental improvement. If you work with someone on the team over there, they'll tell you these are the exact improvement plans that you need to really put in. Okay, are you part of an LM program, Khushi? And LM is last mile push. Okay, so then who's your mentor? Okay, um, he should have created a last mile program. I'm going to check with a test readiness regimen for you. If you are going to take a mock, for those of you who want to know what last mile push is, this is what it is. It's there once you pass cementing in one section. So if you all of quant or all of verbal, you hit 60th% accuracy in hard questions, then you can enroll in LM JHC. So once you hit 60% hard accuracy in one complete section in all the subsections over there, that's when it's beneficial for you to enroll in LM. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to Dhruv about it, and we're gonna give you some very, very specific improvement tips for RC, because I see that potential that you can get to about 80% in RC. Also, are you guys, so Khushi, are you enrolled in Coach Connect? Okay. The other thing, no one calls anyone sir at eGMAT, so you will not call me sir, you will not call Dhruv sir. Okay. So you'll address all of us using our first names, please. Okay. Did you attend yesterday's session, Khushi, CR session? And then I think we have a session on Tuesday as well. If you've seen have you seen the session for RC recording? Have you seen the recording of the first RC session? I've attended by Shraddha. Okay. So have you done the post-session exercises for that, Khushi? So do the post-session exercises, do this, and then I'd like to see your error log. Once I see your error log, we can really definitely do a much more deeper dive in there. But yeah, I definitely see you improving to an 80% accuracy, hard accuracy in RC, and improving that. So going beyond 80% hard accuracy in CR slightly harder. You're already at a very, very high point, but RC definitely 80%. I think I can see that happening. So write to me, and and that way, I'd also involve Rida in this and make sure that you get there. Okay. Kushi, but RC, did you do the post session exercises that were there? And then do you have your error logs? I need those things. Let me take Gaurav's question. Didn't went well. Okay, did not go well. Okay. Again, error log. So same things, guys. Same problem. So it's the same question that who asked. I think it was Chetsi who asked this question, or it was early on. Tyra asked that question, where she says, my accuracy in CR varies. You cannot attempt hard questions when you are tired. Please do not do that. They do way more harm than good. Way more harm. In the same way, you can't work out if you're if you're not at your 100%, you can't do heavy workout. Solving hard questions is like doing heavy workout. You will hurt yourself if you're not fresh and if you're not well rested, because you can't do that. So there is no uh, I mean, without taking chemicals, there's no solution for tiredness, so that's other than sleeping. So please go back, attempt those questions again, build your error log. And I think that's a good transition to the question that Gaurav said. He says, my mentor says that if you haven't gotten an A grade, revise those. And again, the question that you have to really look in, and it says, because I remember the answers, I don't know what benefit it would do. Right, Gaurav? That's what you are trying to say. It's a really good transition from there. So when you're revising something, the goal really is not to answer something correctly. So when you take the same quiz and you get 100%, don't congratulate yourself on the part of your on the part of pat your, give yourself a pat on the back. Don't do that. That's not what the goal of revising anything is. The goal of revising something is going back and really revisiting those mental connections to say, okay, where was my brain deviating towards? Because honestly, when you make a mistake, you have one of two choices to make, and you often make the wrong choice, or you push your thinking in the wrong direction. And so when you revise something right afterwards, you kind of really say, why did my mind gravitate towards the wrong direction? And now that I've seen the solution, do I agree, first of all, that my mind gravitated towards the wrong direction? So if you're, first of all, that agreement needs to come. Second, that causation needs to come as to why should you do that. And then the third thing is the corrective action that needs to come, where you have to really say, how would I prevent my mind from gravitating? Do I now understand the question? So all these three things have to be written down. And then the fourth thing is to ensure that this doesn't happen. So after the how, that ensuring that this doesn't happen is to really take that same construct and really say, hey, this is the question, put this in ChatGPT, put it and say, this is the question, I faltered on this, here is why I faltered, can you create 2 to 3 more questions which are similar to this question that test the same construct, so that I can validate that I'm not going to fall for this. Do those 4 things. First is agreement, second is causation, third is prevention, second is confirmation that you, fourth is confirmation that this happens. Do this and you're going to improve. Does that help, Gaurav? And that's the same thing for each one of you, honestly. When you make a mistake, when I make a mistake on a question, I do that right away, and then I make way fewer mistakes going forward, or those kinds of mistakes. Okay, it does help on some level. Apply this and it'll help tremendously. Again, remember, your goal is not, that 100% doesn't tell you anything. What helps you is to really say, how will you prevent that mistake? ChatGPT part is, take that question and give a prompt to ChatGPT saying that, hey, this is the question. I made a mistake in this question. I chose this choice. This choice is the chose choice C. Choice D is the correct answer. The reason I chose choice D was because this is how I thought. And write it out. Don't be lazy. Write it out. Because I thought choice C meant X, Y, and Z, whereas it actually meant A, B, and C. And then can you create two more questions that on which I can evaluate my understanding, which are similar to this? Just say this. Would you? I mean, this is something that we've contemplated doing. We at eGMAT do a lot of prompting. So that's something that we do. It's just one of those things that if we really roll it out to everyone, then it'll be like an incremental cost between $10 and $12 per month for everyone, just because accessing GPT-4 Turbo, and you do really have to access GPT-4 Turbo to do something like this properly, requires that. Um, just wondering if we roll this out to people where you made a mistake and you could say, okay, creates uh, ask me why did I make a mistake, and then create parallel questions, 2 or 3 parallel questions right away. Would a capability like this be worth where you're paying $10 to $12 extra per month? Because we could automate this for everyone. Okay, that's something that, because I see this the need for this happen a lot. Okay. Uh, let's look at Prakriti's question. How does one get selected for LM program? So when we choose people for LM, and remember this, we spend um, from our pocket, in terms of time worth, about $400 worth of time per student on LM. We don't charge you anything for the LM program. What we look for when we look at LM is first of all consistency. So we kind of look at your history and say, have you been putting in those hour and a half, 1.5 hours consistently over there? Then we look for good grades. So have your grades been B or higher? And at learning level, not in every activity we do understand, there may be certain activities where you may get a C grade, and that's okay. But an overall level, have you been doing that? And honestly, if you've been consistent, then that's kind of the most important thing. If you're consistent and if you're focused on learning, then getting B or higher grades is not hard. um, because that's kind of how the files are meant. So then the next piece that we really say is, are you following the process? Have you gone through the getting started course? Are you doing cementing right after you do this? If you're doing all three things, then most likely uh, uh, you will have pass cementing. And when you pass cementing, that's kind of the cherry on the top for us. Then we actually enroll you. And so it's not just the fact that you pass those 55% thresholds in CR and RC, or an MPWP, or DI is usually towards the end. So you have to pass them in one of these two. But it's also about the consistency. Half the people who pass these thresholds, we actually reject them if we find that they've been studying on and off, because we know that these people are inherently bright, but to get a 695, 685 score, it's not, they're not going to get there if they're not, once till they become consistent. That's kind of achieving the top 3 percentiles. Where can we see OG quizzes on Schol? You can't, unfortunately. You cannot today. Yeah, it's one of those things we've been fighting with the GMAC. We used to have partial OG quizzes, but the GMAC, unfortunately, and I've been talking to them for about 5 months on and off now, to really be fair to us, because they allow GMAT Club. They don't allow, they actually don't do anything when GMAT Club publishes their questions. They don't do anything when people rip off their IP left and right. And I've been really asking them to license their questions to us, and so we can pay for them and put them in our platform, and they've kind of been denying that. And this is, I'm just really pissed off. ETS, in my opinion, on the other hand, is much more proactive that way. Um, there is this site called GREGMAT, or GregMat as is being called. They used to have a phenomenal YouTube channel. That channel doesn't exist anymore because all that YouTube channel was built on official questions. So ETS is really good about protecting their IP. We cannot put official questions on a platform till either we get a consent from everyone or we license those questions. And because if we put those questions, then you guys become liable along with us. So we become liable, you guys become liable, and something that I would rather not do. Prakriti, hard cementing is a must. So I would, if I were you, I would build my error log, improve my medium to 80, 85, 90, and then move to hard. Again, please, please, please go through the getting started course. Please, everyone go through the getting started course. Okay. All right, guys, with that, I want to thank everyone who's here. I think we've taken every question that you guys had. It was a pleasure having you. There's still something that you haven't found, that you still have a question on. I'd be happy to address that. I'm going to actually add some more thing to Chetsi's question to really say, after you're done with hard cementing, you may do some questions from the official guide towards the which questions that are, in the last one third of it. Those are probably the only useful questions after you pass hard cementing that would be beneficial for you. 66% of the questions would not be useful because they'd be too easy for you. They won't add much incremental value. Can we find Pyle and I want to do this, but honestly, there are 14 of you. Um, if you put in your email addresses, one of you can take leadership and build a group. So, the chatbots here, someone, and if you do this, you can put this in your MBA application as well. Pyle and I are going to do this in July. That is our promise. Um, but yeah, but if you want to do this beforehand, which I think is a phenomenal idea for you guys to do. So, so 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 please, put in your email addresses, those of you want to do a group, because I think it's a great idea that you hold yourself accountable. Pyle and I are also going to build tech sometime towards the end of July, beginning of August, to ensure this is done. But if someone wants to lead this, make a study group, please do that. It will be an incredible addition to your profile, because mentoring is really, really important. um, you may add Pyle to this group. Okay. So you can add Pyle to this group as well, and that way Pyle can put her inputs as well. Chetsi, I have a question for you, and please don't take this as a criticism because it's a genuine question. Do you pay for Rediff mail, or is it an old mail that exists? Because I don't think you can sign up for Rediff mail anymore. Just curious question. No, I mean it's a good mail service. Just I uh, I just want to know how do you do this? Because I tried, I couldn't get it. You had to pay for it. couldn't get it for free. Ah, okay. But it's still working for you, just to be very clear? Just curious. Okay, that's good. But I probably left my red FML out for very long. So okay. That's good to know. Okay, guys, thank you very much. It was phenomenal. Gaurav, really good question here. Uh, uh, so when the instructors are pre-thinking, performing sentence pausing in a certain way, there's a lot of tabulation being rephrasing being done. Or we as students expected to follow the same. Um, so mental image, absolutely. I do that. Let me just say this. I do that. Or when it comes to, so the tabulation piece is a lot more with data insights. I do that. Okay. So got a great question. We do that. Start doing it. The more you do it, the less would be the need to do it. And it's counterintuitive when I say this, but trust me, the more you do it, the more explicit you are in writing things down, the more your mental ability will improve and the more you'll be able to draw inferences. Okay. So great question. This is probably one of the best questions today. But 3 or 4 great questions. This is one of the best ones. Okay, Kushi, that's another good question. It does, and it's supposed to. Trust me, Gaurav, it is supposed to. As long as it's increasing accuracy, as long as you're understanding you're on the right path. So don't worry about that time. Worry about being organized. Worry about not having. So the metric that you need to track, that's same thing in CR, same thing in RC, same thing in MSR, same thing in quant, is if you don't have to go back to the argument. You may be taking longer, but if you don't have to go back to the argument, you're moving in the right direction. Okay. That's what you need to track. If your accuracy is good, don't have to go back. You're moving in the right direction. Okay, let's take Khushi's question. That also is a good question. About to complete MSR and will be done by with DI. MSR is hard. Let me just say this. MSRs. So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna share a table with you. And actually, no, that will be too mathematical for you. It's a probabilistic table. But let me just say this in a very simple fashion. Okay. Um, the median accuracy of hard questions is typically in quant and verbal is between 45 to 50%. So which means for a question to be classified as hard, if it's accuracy, the accuracy over a representative set of population is between 45 and 50%, it's called hard. When you get to DI, and this is TPA, GITA, because of the question format, that number drops to 40%. Okay, and that may seem like a 5% drop, but that's huge implications on that accuracy to ability translation. When it comes to MSR, that drops to about 37%. And this is my mathematical analysis based on what I've seen with score reports. So the point that I'm trying to really say is hard MSR, your accuracy is 50%. It's the same as hard CR, your accuracy being 65%. So that's something that's so Khushi. Keep this as context. So when you say my score in MSR isn't bad, if you're at 50-55%, that's something. Yeah. Official guide is good. Again, as I said, the last half questions are the ones that you should focus on. Okay. So what is your accuracy is what I would ask, Khushi. And what are your grades? I think more importantly, what are your grades? That's why when you really see the median scores, when you look at the eGMAT platform, that median score is also going to be about 50% and many MSR files. Okay, A and B. So you A is, you're in the top 15 percentile. B is you're in the this thing, yeah, 84th to 50th percentile. So that's good. So that's fine. You're doing well. Just again, focus on that revision that I talked about. That's all that I'm asking of you. Okay. So with that, thank you everyone. You guys are doing really well. And if I've asked you to follow up, please follow up. All right. And yeah, thank you and have a wonderful day. Again, please don't call me sir. Just address me as Rajat. Thank you very much. Bye bye.